Hi, everybody. Welcome to another PMR Blue Table Talk. I'm Melissa Sullivan, and today I have with me Kristen, Samantha, and Valerie, and we are going to be talking about taking a seat at the table as a woman in the automotive industry. So welcome, ladies, to our podcast today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. All right, so I thought we might get started today. I'll give a little bit of a background on what it was like for me entering the automotive industry after a much more extensive period of time in another industry. I entered PMR in 2018, and I came from a very corporate background that was more aligned with customer service, sales, and debt collection. So it was definitely eye-opening for me to come into the automotive recycling industry where it's way more male dominated and a lot of the position openings and our peers in other companies are all held by males or majority held by males. Coming from the background I came from, there was much more diversity. I came from an industry where 50% of management positions were held by women. So it was definitely very different coming into PMR and making my way through. I wanted to talk to you guys about the challenges that you've seen specifically. I think one of the biggest ones that I had was just being taken seriously in my role at PMR as a woman.
Yeah, no, I think that I can second that in the sense where that was definitely a hurdle that I experienced too coming into it. Just to give a bit of background, I entered PMR at the ripe young age of 22. So not only are you faced with the stigma of being a woman in a highly male-dominated industry, you're facing the stigma of being a very young woman in the automotive industry. So when you're trying to educate people on things that you do consider yourself specialized in because you do have the knowledge to provide the correct and pertinent information, you're being met with lines like, "Oh, thanks, sweetie. Where's your supervisor? Where's your manager? Oh, you keep looking cute, when you're at a trade show or a booth. You're just seen as kind of the decorative sex rather than the actual point of contact. So I definitely get where you're coming from in the sense where you do have to work twice as hard to kind of solidify your understanding and expertise in what you're delivering.
Absolutely. So Sam, you're in charge of our recruiting here at PMR. What are some of the things that you're seeing from a recruitment standpoint in relation to the topic today?
Obviously, when I joined PMR 3 years ago, I did see a lot of, male applications. I did see, the proportion of male in this industry was maybe 95%. Now, the portion of female that we have here at PMR in the team has increased. So that's a good thing. Here at PMR, we obviously encourage, diversity. We encourage inclusion. We encourage all genders to apply for, the same roles. So we encourage women to have the same opportunities as men. So yeah, it's a thing that we are proud of that change.
I think when I first heard about PMR and, I came here through a referral that somebody that was already working here, one of the things for me was I didn't even know what a catalytic converter was. So I was like, okay, you've got experience in management, you've got experience doing other things, but I think in my experience, even though I didn't know what it was, I was like, I can figure it out. I can learn it. Do you think that it holds people back from applying for the job or just coming into the industry because they don't know the product specifically? Do you think that that's a challenge as well? Val, I know you came from the hotel industry, so you came from a very different space. What was your interpretation of the industry and entering into it from where you sit?
So when I remember when I applied, I was like, I'm just gonna apply and I'll see how it goes. And when I met Samantha and Kristen, I was like, okay, I really need to work here because it's like I had a really good vibe, but I knew the challenges coming into it because it's a completely different industry than what I'm used to and that what I've been in for all this time. I think one of the biggest challenge for me was the fact that our help desk was new, and when we were answering phones, they were used to speaking to our representatives that were mostly male at the time, and they wouldn't even want to talk to me. And sometimes it was like they would be, a little bit harsh per se, or they wouldn't make comments, but just the tone of voice would change, and you can tell that they didn't really want to speak to me. And I think I had a challenging time trying to find my footing, especially in the hotel industry. It's when you're talking on the phone, and it's a very different type of clientele. So there was for sure an adjustment period for me when I was, when I started at PMR, and adjusting, how to address certain things with our suppliers and everything like that. So it was challenging, but
I think that a lot of women too, like when they're faced with that challenge, I know my first year here, I was doing calls to learn the business, and to Kristen's point, I would get the, have your boss give me a call,
Yeah.
or, and it was like, excuse me, sir, like I got this,
It's a Kristen thing. Excuse me, sir.
So Kristen, I know that you pulled some statistics for us today. Would you like to
Yes.
give us the stats, and let's bring that into the
So I
conversation?
just wanted to bring some positives to this conversation, because I think that a lot of the problems that associate with women in leadership is, people not really understanding those statistics. So it's actually a well-known fact that firms with greater diversity amongst senior leadership perform better. So a Harvard Business Review posted a study that took 163 companies and analyzed the business outcomes after women joined top management teams over the course of 13 years. So the research shows those organizations were more profitable, socially responsible, and provided higher quality customer experiences. They also became more open to change, less open to risk, and shifted focus and investment to internal research and development, allowing these firms to consider a wider variety of strategies for creating value. So I thought that it was very interesting to note these things, right? Because risk-taking decreased by 14%, according to the statistics, while frequency of terms suggesting openness to change increased by 10%. And I think just being a part of a company like PMR, the mindset is really openness to change and, avoiding status quo. And I would say that, compared to some of the people who are doing the same thing in our industry, I would say we do have a relatively high proportion of females in the company that are working to achieve certain goals, right? So I thought it was very interesting to look at these stats and just get your opinions on them. Like, how do you feel knowing, like Harvard Business did a 13, year study, and these were the results of it. And I think that the proof is in the pudding, because we see those results here at PMR as well. Mm-hmm. Like, when I started in 2015, there was one other woman in the office, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm happy that's no longer a reality. The proof is sitting at the table right now. But the truth is, when I started attending industry events and trade shows, there was a very noticeable difference in the ratio of men to women. But now there's so many industry associations that are working very hard to change that. And they work hard to advocate and empower women in this field of work. So we've come a long way. There's always work to do, but progress is progress. So I guess my question to the group is, how do you think we can do our part? I think we do a good job of trying to bring on new women in the field and get them excited about this very highly male-dominated industry. I know I was super excited when Melissa came, because she was another woman, in the company, and I was surrounded by males at the time. So I just remember thinking like, oh, like, I hope she takes this opportunity. I hope she comes. I hope she stays. I hope she doesn't think I'm weird and leaves. But like, what do you think we can do for each other, as well as, other women that are in this field, to help them feel like, you're not alone. There is a place for you. There's always, opportunities. So what do you think some of those things we should be doing, or those some things that we're already doing, or some things that we should be doing more of?
I think one thing that really helps is our open door policy. So the fact that we can go and speak to management with our ideas, and they listen and they value our opinion. I think it also empowers us then to help us empower our team as well, and then we empower each other. So it's like an ongoing circle of empowerment, and it just helps us become like better versions of ourselves, and then that reflects in our team as well.
Excellent. And if I can just add to your point, just having Kristen, Melissa, Valerie, and I, sitting at this table, being all in a leadership position, I think it just can give a great example to other women, and encourage them to also, have their own, goals and objectives. And at PMR we do promote diversity and gender, and you don't necessarily need to have the experience in catalytic converters or in the automotive industry to apply. We do encourage everyone to apply, because we all give the training, the necessary training, the transfer knowledge to all those new employees, so they can get that information as well and empower themselves.
I think Sam made a really good point when she said you don't need to know anything about catalytic converter recycling, because none of us came in with any knowledge about catalytic converters or the recycling process, or the technology involved. So it's just, being in the mindset of being ready to take a jump, learn something new, and challenge yourself, because the most to be tacky in the sense where it's like everybody says it, growth happens when you get out of your comfort zone, right? So if you're always trying to remain comfortable, you're never gonna, do anything that will elevate you, right? If you're just trying to stay comfortable all the time. And I think we all took that leap of faith. Yeah. In the sense where we all decided to be uncomfortable, try something new, give it our all, and we all ended up succeeding at it. And we're able to bring in more women and empower them and help them succeed at it too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that when we talk about empowering, we're also need to keep in mind that we're always empowering each other. So you have to look to other people in your team or look to other people in your organization and work together. Because sometimes we have a tendency, when we don't know something, we'll kind of stick to ourselves until we can figure it out. I think, coming to the table and having a group conversation when you're stuck on something is a great way to kind of mentor each other and empower each other forward as well.
Part of PMR's success is due to leading the way, and we've done that through the years, in part by having women in leadership roles within the workforce. So I also have some research here. So prior research suggests that female executives are likely to care less about tradition and are more open to challenging the status quo than their male counterparts. It would make sense that as more women are appointed to executive teams, it could trigger more open-mindedness in existing top management team members. This plays into the PMR mindset of forward thinking and rejecting the status quo. Would you not agree?
I would agree with that, for sure.
So I think part of the success is also in the research that says, we're open to challenging the status quo because we don't believe in the traditional aspects of things. We always want to see, okay, this is how things have been done. We want to go a step further. Can we make it better? Can we figure out a way to improve it? And I think having women a part of the company has supported that shift, that mindset. And although I have to say that our president, Chris, is very much the same, has very much the same mentality in that sense. He's always open to, okay, how do we challenge this? How do we make it better? If you haven't tried it before, go, try it, see what happens, sort of thing. Would you not agree to that, in the sense where we're able to flourish and be ourselves because we have a leadership team that also encourages us to be ourselves and go for the things that we think are valuable and will make a difference.
I definitely agree with that. And I think that as management structures change over time, like PMR is in essence pretty young. So the management or the executive management team is pretty young. So those shifts
Help.
yeah, exactly. It makes it easier to make those shifts because you're working in the same type of generations, where some other, organizations may have structures that were built, hundreds of years ago or 100 years ago.
With limited
Exactly.
points of view. Like I think the focus here, at least the focus that I've always experienced from management, is you always need to focus on better and more productive conversations. How do we have more than one point of view incorporated here, and how can we be the best version of ourselves as well?
Yeah,
sort of
exactly.
thing.
It all goes back to like empowering each other too, because management does like empower us and encourages us to go outside of the box sometimes. So it helps us, like Kristen said, be like flourish and be a better version of ourselves.
Question what we do here, question the present, and just put focus on innovation.
Yeah. So I think the key point there is mentoring other women is crucial. So our job is to make sure that we are part of the solution, not part of the problem, and to encourage others to become more confident in their influence. So we really need to be the champions for each other, in other words, I would say.
Something that I've noticed recently, as women are becoming more prevalent in not only leadership positions but just in general. It seems that the male side of things are really trying to understand, and we're talking here about PMR, where we have a leadership team that's quite young in terms of generations. But it's interesting. What do you guys think, or what are your experiences watching other organizations or other parts of the industry try to talk about women's empowerment?
I think more men are trying to become part of the conversation. They just have trouble understanding where the line is, right?
Yeah.
So they want to be supportive, but they also don't want to do so in a way that it's sometimes it's counterproductive, right? So sometimes they try to be supporting by kind of saying the wrong things, and they're trying to understand, but it's also not our job to teach them, right? They're supposed to educate themselves. So I think that I would have to say, like, for my 8 years in the industry, I've seen like a lot of progress in the past 3 to 4 years. I think at the beginning when I really started, it was a lot more difficult, and there was a lot more, I wouldn't say, there was just a lot more traditional acceptance. Like there was just ways to do things, you just accepted it. Whereas in recent years, they're pushing back that, okay, I don't need to accept this. I can pave my own path. It's not, generations are changing for a reason, and things evolve. If you're not evolving, you're staying stagnant, right? So I think that as a whole, we're moving in a positive direction. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that it's just important as women, whether we're in leadership or we're not, it's important to be a part of those conversations, because even though it's not, the responsibility of our male counterparts to understand what we're trying to achieve or how to empower us, we also have to be able to be open about what's working and what's not working within our organizations.
And I think there's a lot of stigma still associated with women asking for what they want, what they deserve based on what they've done, right? So, we're talking about having a seat at the table. A lot of times, just based on research, men don't have a problem asking for a seat at the table. Men don't, but for women, we really need to feel like we deserve it, even when we do deserve it. We really need to feel like, okay, did I cross all my T's? Did I dot all my I's? Did I do everything that I should have done to have that seat? Whereas, what we see a lot is just based on, more research that I've read is, when there's two job openings, for instance, when Samantha's looking at two job openings, sometimes a woman will go through the post and she'll be like, you know what, I don't have this specific criteria, so I shouldn't apply for this post. Whereas men, the research shows that they're more inclined to apply for it anyways and see what happens, So we have to remember that, being grateful and being treated fairly are not mutually exclusive. Like, you can be grateful for the opportunities that you have, but if you can ask for what you deserve based on your qualifications and what you can do. Right. And I think that's an important point as well, because it's so easy for us as women to kind of put ourselves on the side until we feel that we're worthy enough, even when we are worthy for what we're requesting,
And it's so interesting because when we were doing the research for the topics of this podcast today, one of the things that came up when we were all kind of just brainstorming, at least for me, I guess because I came from an industry where there were more women in leadership roles and moving throughout the organization, it doesn't even occur to me that I can't do it. Yeah. So I think more and more companies are kind of taking that stance where, more and more women are getting into those roles. It builds confidence. It empowers organically, and women are going to say to themselves, you know what, like, it's not even a question, It's more exactly what I was saying before. I'm gonna just sign up and see what happens. Let me just try it out, And I think, Val, that's the case for you. It was certainly the case for me. Didn't know what I was doing, didn't know anything about the industry, but it didn't hold me back, the not knowing.
I think too, a lot of the times, how at least, I don't think that that's the case for us here at PMR, but in a lot of industries, it's like that one seat at the table that's reserved for women. And if another woman gets invited to the table, she's kind of has that mentality that she has to compete with the other woman. Whereas that shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be we're competing. It should be we all have room at the table and we can all get there together, right? Mm-hmm. Build multiple seats for multiple women, because that's the better win, us sitting at the table together, not one of us sitting at the table alone, right?
Well, this has been a fun conversation. I guess to wrap it up, I just have a quick question for each of you to elaborate on a little bit further. So, Valerie, what would be your advice to somebody that, is looking to potentially enter into a male-dominated field? Like, what are some things that they could do to overcome the stigma or the fear of kind of, or even if you're in the industry already and want to move up within the organization you're in, how do we overcome that fear?
I think it's important to realize that there's a reason why you're, if you're looking to get promoted or you're looking for a higher role, it's important to take a step back and look at what you're doing at the organization and how much you've dedicated your time and what you're bringing to the table and how how you've helped them grow or all the ideas you've brought. And there's a reason why you're still here. And just do it, even though you're scared.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, there is no magical answer.
No, there's
nothing we can tell, because the magic formula or secret sauce for Valerie might not be for me, might not be for Sam. I think the main ending point here is like yes, you're scared, do it anyways. Yeah. Even in fear, go forward, because it's when you're scared that you and push beyond those fears that you actually reach extraordinary results.
Sam, what's your opinion?
Not to be scared, to just jump both feet, and we will be here catching you. I would second what Val just said, just go for it. We do encourage diversity. We are a team of strong women, and we do rely on each other. Everyone's strengths all together makes a great teamwork, and we are working towards the same goals. So yeah, just do it.
So the message is just do it.
Just do it. We're
Just
turning
do it.
into a Nike commercial.
Oh my goodness.
But Melissa, you have to give your insight.
Well, I was going to wrap it up. So what I would say is if you know your capabilities and you know your strengths and your weaknesses, and if you see an opportunity, it doesn't matter your gender, just go for it. Because at the end of the day, it's your capabilities. And whether or not there's a fear attached or not, if you're going for it, you're just making and paving the way for more people underneath. And I think that that's what's so important, is to always be looking at the people coming up behind you. So if you have women in your organization already that are ahead of you in terms of where they are in hierarchy, the path is already being carved for you. It's all paved for you. So just jump on board and go for it. You have nothing to lose.
I have an interesting quote by Dame Stephanie Shirley on creating a better future, and I thought it would be nice to end it. And anybody who doesn't know Dame Stephanie Shirley needs to look her up, because she's a badass woman. So on creating a better future, she says, "I believe in the beauty of work when we do it properly and in humility." And I think that's a great quote for us to end off in, because here we do believe in doing things properly and in humility. So I thought that was very fitting to our organization.
Love that. Well, thank you to all of our listeners. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button.
And go for it.
And go for it.